na wo da twen dollar yen 17 plus bi aneka ba 12 ko wa wo da 17 tebe to chi o da twen onye oche no
na wo de ne ma nkoye kura o obi ba na obi a opa bibi no kura o bo price na na okọ complain no o ni pa na ba beto no anka to di complain na mse na nkenye o hwe nkwaso
Time in Mama Baba, no, about moto 8,000. They are not almost 300 and something million. They tell a wa 1 year away. Men come on, analo, Papaco, no machine 300 million. 1 year away, call a net 1 boundary, 2,000 price.
In the intimate cranium, intimate cranium with this current value, yeah, dollar with the intimate cranium. It's a game when you can most no control dollar, net now bread over to 4.5. How much was it? 14 cities.
Line and a ton 1 city 50 pesos. And there do 7 cities. And in Amaya bre, yen to me just a juma way, as I said there. A good crowd, over here, Juman, the cacao benano, with the better light. Better light. Just say, like a moonline in any amount, better way, not she put up. It's immediate. Ye juma we die aba we be gunu.
Mpese die me baba no mafu obo na eden enko Sesi aminu kasa sisi ano. Part bi amito no 3 months ago 45. Sesi aminu kasa no 12,000.
Tony anu wota wone baji. Oni bi fe basa. Kono ko yi. Suku ana ka free education wo bi ye na me bi yen wa me popoi.
Suku ebe na me yo yele years abo. Bi ane ayele suku e tortu. Yeah, 1 tortu, 2 tortu, 3 tortu.
Oko Tom Agatamanso a port expansion bi a wa ye ho nti eboa ma mi koyi mi niam na be ma me ho anha mi. Abrabo so eno ane wa nti de odi kan kira o de be ma ho anha wa. Se nipa na yedi na chi ene ne bobra.
GM ba minim there the way now in what the economy obotu manage no aye ngo bia ne mfio obotu no aye hwe ECG the time no so obaye oye
Suye galaxy nam le John Mahama obenye be lefe afeve fe blave fe manifesto ikewo wona Ghana tikoa egele Ghana do come vidiji oji hepo no pleo hebia gbo so fe no mebe hafifo efe manifesto no fu hedem konebe the people's manifesto
what one muko John Mahama aba challenge muko kala aka challenge
John Mahama le promise sani ale unopposed ajage negeno John Mahama na kufu do balaka o age yensonu hwe nwosonu hwe ni efe wo 419 wo ka mo je NDC party mi lewu ne ba ne ge wo solo hwe lewu ba fe wo 419
primaries na ya na esi mo ka contest le because mo fear mo no baba wo ba yebo hands down no ameka gba me na o yen ka play ka e ka children home e ka gbe ka biye.
Thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for listening to the former speakers who were here. We continue now and have an endorsement statement by the Dean of the Regional Chairman Caucus, Honorable Japon Kujo.
Eyezuza. Hey! 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 Mima munyina akwaba. Maka ibenu ni twi no be brofo no bebre nti meka sakakra. Ya mama akwaba. You are welcome for today's program. You have heard what the MC had said. I have to come. I have to. It looks simple, but I want all of us together to join me to do what they want me to do. And if I have to do that, I have to convince you why I want you to join me, do what I'm supposed to do. And I'm very clear that it's your brother, your former regional chairman, Honorable John Kwejo Japan, who is talking to you. And you know he's a game changer. I've been here on 3 occasions to do what I'm doing today. I am very happy my brother, the former speaker, Honorable His Excellency Joe Ajaho, is here.
So that was the feed from the City Auditorium of the University of Health and Allied Sciences, who in the Volta region, former President John Mahama is actually launching his presidential campaign ahead of the 2024 elections. Like I did mention, at the end of the nomination process by the NDC, 4 persons actually picked up nomination forms to contest for the position. Former President John Mahama himself, and then also former Finance Minister and former Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, and then also former Mayor of Kumasi, Osei Bonsu, and then a businessman who emerged, Ernest Krobia. Let me come back in studio. Sandra, we've heard from a former campaign manager and also a former contender, actually, of John Mahama, Professor Joshua Alabi. You recall that during the last presidential primaries, he actually contested and then he performed creditably well. In fact, he was second in that particular race. But today, he is not contesting. And in fact, if you listen to the introduction, a lot of credentials, he is, in fact, touting John Mahama as the right person. In fact, he's not the only one. I can take you back to the National Congress of the NDC back at the Accra Sports Stadium. You saw a lot of billboards, campaigning for John Mahama, although it was unofficial there. Even you've heard utterances from some party executive making it look as if John Mahama is the right man for the job. But he lost 2 consecutive elections. He wants to make a 3rd comeback.
Well, I think if there's anything that the John Mahama campaign has done well, it is to recruit someone like Professor Joshua Alabi into the contest. There are 2 things to look out for that. So one, the absence of Joshua Alabi on the ticket means the competition may not be as tight. I mean, I know he's a former member of parliament, former Greater Accra regional minister and all of that. But I mean, as someone who wants to run for flag bearer, he's not the person that people typically mention when it comes to that issue. For him to have run and did so well, and he beat so many people, including Alban Sumana Kingsford Bagbin. He did so well, beating all these people in that contest. It means that he's someone that the NDC base knows. He's someone that the NDC base likes, and he's someone that the delegates like. So you can say that in the absence of John Mahama, he is like the next guy that can be a flag bearer of the NDC if we should go by that result. So he not being on the ballot means some competition has been taken away. However, what the John Mahama campaign has done is to get him on board, and getting him on board means that they have one person on their side. So you can say that the pin in their shoe has been, or the stone. I've seen the subtle jabs that he has thrown as Kwabena Dufo by saying that this is not a Matrai Makwe flag bearership that they are looking for. They are looking for someone who has experience and track record, someone who has supervised various ministers, including the Minister of Finance. This is an apparent reference to Dr. Kwabena Dufo saying that he was a finance minister and Mahama had been his boss before and all of that. Mahama was a vice president when Dufo was a minister of finance in the Mills government. So yes, getting Professor Joshua Alabi on the campaign is good. Don't forget also that John Mahama made him his campaign manager, and he talks at the tail end of his submission there about unity of purpose, and he thinks that after May 13, there's going to be a unity of purpose in the NDC, and he believes John Mahama who is the one who can give that to them. I also noticed that regional chairmen have showed up. I mean, The election is made up of NDC delegates who are mostly executives at either the polling station or regional or constituency and all of that. For regional chairman to come around, what I noticed they are planning to do is they are going to bring all these people. So regional chairman will come endorse. Regional executives will come endorse. I don't know if
they actually started long ago because you remember even when he was picking the nomination forms, they were there and some of even vowed to pay for the filing fees for him.
Good. So they may end up getting the constituency executives to come and endorse him. They may end up getting even the national executives. I'm not sure by law they are barred from.
That even bode well for the party, looking at how these people are endorsing John Dramani Mahama.
If you look at 2011, when Mills was a sitting president and was contested by Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings, actually, every member of the government supported Mills. That's one. All national party executives were following Mills. I recall very well, it was only Kofi Adams who was at the time, because he's spokesperson of Jerry Rawlings and also a national deputy general secretary. He's the only one that you could say was on Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings' camp. Everybody was on Mills' side. And when you ask the question to the party leaders, why are you all supporting Mills and not Konedu when you know that this is a contest? They'll say to you that they need someone who can win the election for them and they don't care what. And so the issue with John Mahama now is that they believe he's a winnable candidate. He's the best guy they can put forward, the best horse that they can put into the race. And so why waste your time on another candidate? Let's back him as much as we can. And don't forget, all the appointees in the past, 8 years have been done by either Mills or Mills. Always like his people. The few people who don't agree with him are the people you hear speaking at the back. Are people who are opposed to John Mahama, but largely all national executives, regional executives, and so on appear to be supporting. So it is really going to be a difficult race for Kwabena Dufo if he will be able to do anything.
That even brings me to my next question, Sandra. Let's look at the previous presidential primaries of the NDC. We had 7 people contest. Former President John Dramani Mahama himself, Professor Joshua Alabi, there was also Gusitano, there was even, in fact, the current Speaker of Parliament, Alban Gbagwin, there was also Sylvester Mensah, and then former Trade Minister Ecclesfield Gabra. But this time around, we are seeing a former minister and a former governor of the Bank of Ghana, that's Dr. Kwabena Dufo, also a former mayor of Kumasi, Osei Bunsu, and then a new businessman who has emerged in the race. If you look at the caliber of persons contesting John Dramani Mahama now and those who contested him prior to the 2020 election, what would you see?
Gusitano is a guy who formed the Reform Party in 2000. He has been blamed for the defeat of the NDC in election 2000. Gusitano was a member of the NDC. And then there were some, boardroom wranglings, and he had to break away and form the National Reform Party. I remember their logo with the sun rising and all of that. And people even said that he looked like Jerry Rawlings because of his color. So he took a lot of votes that ordinarily would have gone to Atta Mills. So he's a powerful guy. He has been sold nationally. He has met Ghanaian citizens across before. So he has that base. Has been member of parliament since 92. He has won his elections without trouble. He has been a minister of state. He has been majority leader, minority leader. He's been minister of works and housing. He has a base. He's from Upper West region, very significant constituency. That's a region of the only person who became president from the north before John Mahama, Hela Liman, Upper West region. So Alban Gbagwin is big from that part of the country, so he's huge. Ecclesfield Gabra has been running at this presidency for a while now. So he's, in fact, you could say that he was John Mahama's biggest competitor in that election. But he was defeated. This was someone who was Minister of Trade. Mahama gave him that job as Minister of Trade. He was a flag bearer contestant in the past. Spill time, that's always been his slogan. Ecclesfield Gabra is big. Who was you mentioned for the last contest?
You've mentioned Gusitano.
Yes.
You've mentioned there's also Sly Mensah.
So Sly Mensah, I mean, in terms of comparison, he has been member of parliament before. He's also a big shot in the NDC. Who is the fourth candidate? How many people really know him? I mean, I haven't heard of him before. But it doesn't mean that he may not be on the ground.
He wasn't in the news until that day.
But it's possible that he has delegates in his hands, but we don't know him. It's possible. Maybe he's been moving around. He knows NDC people without coming to the media. So it's okay to not be fair to judge him like that. But I mean, the man from Kumasi who was made a mayor of Kumasi by John Mahama, that's his appointee. I have no disrespect for him, but how is he going to really contest someone who gave him a job before? If it is wealth, I'm sure Mahama would have more than him. If it is experience, Mahama would have more than him. If it is, delegates, Mahama would have more than him because Mahama won a national election and gave him a job as a Kumasi mayor. So, Honorable Bonsu, I'm not really sure if that's a big competition compared to what happened the last time. Kwamna Dufo, when I was growing up as a child, I remember the 2000 Citi note, the one with the Adomi Bridge on it. It was his signature that was on it. Dr. Kwamna Dufo has been our governor of Bank of Ghana all this decade. He has risen to become Minister of Finance when Mills gave him that job. If he really and truly wanted to be flag bearer, why didn't he run the last time when Konedu was going against Mills? Or even in 2016? For him to show up now, I'm just wondering what exactly the motivation would be. How big is his base? That's another thing. Would people remember Dr. Kwamna Dufo? He's from the NDC, like 3 generations, I think. So you can say Mahama, which is like the new group of NDC people, mostly and that different kind of campaign. So these are the 3, and I think Kwamna Dufo appeal to maybe the old ones, but how many of them does he really even have on his side?
Well, interesting how you mentioned that the people who contested John Dramani Mahama the last time are weightier than those contesting him now. In fact, doesn't that even give credence to the cause by some political observers or even some members of the party saying that John Dramani Mahama should be allowed to run unopposed? And what do you see? Do you see these persons withdrawing from the race at some point in time to throw their weight behind John Dramani Mahama? And you also question why Kwamna Dufo is actually contesting now. Maybe he's a new face the party needs now.
Maybe he does. Maybe he does. I don't know. I mean, that's an internal party issue. As to whether John Mahama should be allowed to run unopposed, I don't think that's democratic. He also ran before he ran for parliament.
People make the argument that, well, he's marketable, he's tried and tested, he's done it before.
So let him prove it when he goes to the delegates. I mean, if you are the best guy, if you are the Bola Tinubu of the NDC, prove it at the polls. It's as simple. I mean, the elections of Nigeria just tested Bola Tinubu's so-called godfathership and power, and he has proven it. So if John Mahama is really there, I mean, I remember when Mills again went against Konedu. I remember the NDC people insisted that they want to really prove. So the campaign was get Atamils endorsed. It wasn't elected, though. They said get Atamils endorsed, so game. And then Fonka was on the other side doing his own thing. They managed to get 97% of the votes going to Professor Atamils. So if the NDC really wants to prove to us that John Dramani Mahama is the best candidate, the most sellable among the NDC candidates, then they should go to the polls and prove that. Obvious choice for the NDC, like he defeated the other candidates in the last election, beat Kospio Gabra, beat Aban Bagbin, Professor Joshua Alabi. We didn't mention him when we were listing. He came there was a second in that contest, and even though there were like 3 or 4 of them, he did so well. John Mahama, I mean, if we should compare it to this time, he has a wider array of people, 4 people still going, or 3 people going against him, maybe a smaller number than the last time. But he has to prove at the polls that he truly is a guy who should be given the job, and it's everybody's interest in the NDC to give him that job. And so that's what we wait to see.
Well, when Professor Joshua Alabi actually spoke, he was promising a campaign that will be hinged on discipline, love, and then involvement of everyone. I don't know why anytime any of the NDC members are talking and they actually hinge on the fact that there should be unity amongst them. We know prior to the national elections, the Congress, I mean the national elections, there were some internal wranglings even ahead of this announcement of John Dramani Mahama. You know the changes in the minority leadership in parliament. There were really fears that these things will not even augur well for the party. And I remember Muntaka actually said that he actually wanted the issue to end because of the intervention by John Dramani Mahama. I'm asking this question because prior to the official declaration of John Dramani Mahama's intent, he met the parliamentary leadership, the minority parliamentary leadership.
It was a whole caucus,
and it was the whole caucus, a unanimous one, of course. Everyone says we support
before. And so, I mean, as one of the MPs.
Brother is contesting.
Yeah, when his own brother is contesting, he goes to endorse John Mahama. I mean, that's what I've been told by the Mahama campaign team members. I cannot prove it, but the member of parliament is a public person. He can publicly come out and say that that's not true. But the NDC, the John Mahama campaign is claiming that he was part of the NDC caucus that came to meet John Mahama and threw their support behind him. So that is, again, there's a problem for Dr. Konadu. For if your own brother, who is an MP, is not campaigning for you, you know. I mean, the issue of unity is very necessary for a party in opposition, because if you have cracks within you and you go into an election, you haven't fixed your own house. How can you go against a political party that has defeated you when you are a sitting president and running? I mean, don't forget that John Mahama was defeated when he was a president by an opposition party that has been trying to take power. And they beat him so well that they used the term unriggable margins, 1 million votes plus. That's how much they beat John Mahama with in 2016. Nana Akufo-Addo was way older than John Dramani Mahama. John Mahama, the youthful one, lost. With all the incumbent advantages at play, he still lost. He appointed an electoral commission chairperson, Charlotte Ose, who the opposition didn't like. He still lost. So all these things, if NPP could defeat you when you were in power, with all the state apparatus at play for you, then you should be careful how you're going to challenge this same party, which is now in government. Because the same advantage for incumbents that you enjoyed, this current party in power will also enjoy same. So you have to do a lot of work. So what you don't need is any crack within you. So that if Mahama wins, he should win so well so that even if someone wants to break away, that person will not be of any significance. Because if you have a Guzitano situation on the NDC's hands, that's a problem. If you have a Nana Akufo-Addo Rawlings situation where she wants to form the National Democratic Party and decide, and that is a big deal. So if Kwabena Dufo, for instance, decides to break away, and I'm not saying he's going to break away and form a party, he's an Ashanti man. I mean, the Ashanti vote is significant for the NDC. I remember the last election, they were targeting 1 million votes in Ashanti. If he's going to take part of that away, then there's going to be a problem. And if they don't get 1 million votes in Ashanti, their chances of winning, and I'm referring to NDC, is very, very low. So these are things, and you don't need disunity at this time, because disunity will really disturb you.
Well, still a live coverage of the presidential campaign launch of former President John Dramani Mahama from the University of Health and Allied Sciences at Ho in the Volta region. Well, before we came in studio, the Dean of the Regional Chairman was addressing the gathering. As and when we want to take you back to the auditorium, we'll do so. But in studio, it's my colleague in the Citi Newsroom, Umaru Sanda Amadu, helping with the discussion. Well, Sanda, one of the arguments as far as the campaign of John Dramani Mahama is that Ghanaians are really yearning for the return of the National Democratic Congress. Not only that, but they also want John Dramani Mahama to come back. Is it because of how bad our economy is, and so you want to believe that the party just wants to capitalize on a general economic quagmire to win the sympathy of Ghanaians other than what they've been able to do in the past?
I mean, it's a combination of both. I remember someone saying, and indeed, actually this was a position held in an argument 2016, was to say to Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and the NPP that don't worry about John Mahama and the opposition. We have taken care of him. We have defeated him as a sitting president with 1 million votes because we trust you. So go and deliver. Now, what that means is that the Ghanaian electorate has said to Nana Akufo-Addo that we support you, Tarichi. Go ahead, do everything you want. 1 million votes extra for an opposition party leader. Now, if you mess up, then you have given John Mahama the audacity to come back. And so Mahama's decision to run for elections in 2020, for instance, was because Nana Addo and his MPP messed up. If they hadn't messed up, the man who was tagged corruptionpreneur, John Mahama, the dead goat, all manner of things doom saw Mahama, every violence and totally annihilated him. That's what you have done. But you came in with all the hopes, with all the goodwill, and you messed up. So much so that his party comes to close your gap in parliament. He himself knocks out that 1 million vote you have to somewhere around 400,000, 500,000 votes. And even though they are contesting those numbers, that is so significant that it shakes you within just 4 years. This man has every right and audacity to run again for office. Supporting you in any way, and I'm referring to the NPP government. The things that we are going through are not kind at all. We have moved the dollar from 3 cedis. I mean, I remember Nana Akufo-Addo saying, "Cedi na ya hata hata hata." There's a video that he's in there saying those things. "Cedi na ya hata hata hata." And this was at the time, this dollar being 3 cedis. Today, the dollar, you've even lost track of where it has got into. When it comes to petrol, I remember the fight when Kufo was leaving for meals. How much was a gallon of petrol? I think it was 7,500 cedis or something. And 7,500 is 75 pesos now. And today, a liter of petrol, we don't even calculate petrol in gallons anymore.
Any longer.
But if you want to say really how much a gallon of petrol is, the amount to be huge. So people don't mention gallon anymore. We mention liters. But the truth is now, a liter is 15 cedis. And I saw a communication that it has reduced to 14 cedis, something. Charlie, still is the same area. Now, if you multiply that by 4.5 liters, it means that we are buying a gallon. I mean, if that is not a problem, what else is a problem? A ball of kinky, how much is it now? How much was it at? When Kufo was changing the CD redenominating the CD, the CD to dollar ratio was 97 pesos, I think, at the time. But they rounded it up to 1 CD. So that 1 CD is equal to $1. 2007, that's what it was. Today, what is the CD to a dollar? And how many years since 2007? It's 16 years. Yes. And we have gone down. But we have gone so down just in the last 6 years that it's not even funny. Because if Kufo left it at 1 CD to a dollar, and Mills and Mahama moved it to 3 cedis to $1 in 2016, that's 8 years. And then you, in 6 years, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, our I don't even know what number we are working with now. And to you're just proving that the economy is really a problem
so
for
really,
you.
do you see the campaign team of John Dramani Mahama having it very easy, looking at the challenges you are facing? Or they have a really huge task ahead of them?
Elections don't work like that. Elections don't work like that. Nigeria is going through an economic
Exactly. I was
turmoil.
even about coming to that point. Say maybe I don't know, but maybe our context is different. But just as you've narrated,
the context of poverty is not different.
The same issues in Nigeria, but they've been able to maintain the same party. And this particular in Ghana, the NPP is actually saying that they want to break the 8. aren't we going to see something similar?
Well, I mean, so that's what I was saying, that it's not going to be a walk in the park for the NDC. The NDC cannot assume that, oh, because the economy is messed up, there are challenges with petroleum prices and all of those things, things are hard, and so we are going to get this election easy. No, it's not going to be like that. In 2004, Kufuor had taken us to HIPIC. HIPIC is highly indebted poor country, and he said that when he came, Rawlings has messed up the economy, so this was the best option for him. The HIPIC or the anti-HIPIC campaign that the NDC did at the time was so huge, and yet Kufuor won that election easy and square in 2004. It wasn't even a runoff. So you should we are tired. They even said at the time they were HIMIC, highly indebted middle-income country. Still, Akufo-Addo won the first round of election in 2008 as a as a governing party candidate. It took 40,000, 40,000 difference to make Mills the president in their second round. Wow. So it tells you that it's not just issues about economy. In 2012, we were here. He said corruption, woyo man. They were singing. MPP did all manner of things. John Mahama, who had just come on the ticket for.
Well, in that 2012 election, a lot of people said that it was because of the incident that happened, sympathy votes.
So I'm just saying that a lot of things can come in an election, and in 2016, what did John Mahama say to us? He did this bus is transforming life, changing people, or something like that. He said he has done so much infrastructure. He had done the Circle Dubai, where people will travel from places to come and just watch. Hey, interchange the FSA. Infrastructure, he got his covered. He built a bank hospital for us. He did the UGMC. He did all manner of these things. He has done the sugar factories where Commander. And yet he was defeated nicely in 2016. So there are a lot of things that it's not just an issue of economy. So these current administration's challenges, what if they are able to overcome it? What if by next year, 2024...
If only they are able to do so.
Yes, what if the NPP manages and succeeds in delivering and gets the IMF program to come and support us, and then things get up? What will be the NDC's campaign then? So beyond what is happening on the ground in terms of the economy, there's more to be done as there are people who suspect that, Tinubu's party in Nigeria didn't win the election fairly, squarely, if you watch some of the anti-Tinubu people on social media. But what matters is that he has been declared winner. Anybody else has to go to court. In 2025 or in 2024, the person Jean Mensa declares the president-elect is the one who has been declared president-elect. It is not how you shout. It is not what you cry about. So far as the electoral commissioner gives the certificate to you like he did to Tinubu in Nigeria, if he does that here, that is the guy who has been elected. And you cannot do nothing.
Best they can do it
you go to court. And according to Johnson, I said, any idiot can go to court. And so you go to court, and what if they give you unanimous FC on your hands? So I'm not sure it's not that easy. And I'm sure the NDC knows that himself.
Well, so looking at all that you've listed, is it the reason the NPP actually seems unfazed with the return of John Mahama? Because if you listen to the party's communication director, Richard Ayagba, for example, the party is not so much concerned about the return of John Mahama, because their argument is simply because he doesn't have anything new to offer.
No, they are concerned. They would be scared because out of the 5 million members of the NDC, and I'm refusing the last election result, Mahama is the best guy that can lead the party. They cannot go bring Rawlings to come and run the election for them. They can't bring anybody stronger. Mahama is the highest person they can do. But the reason that they don't really have to worry that much as a governing party is that, why not? It's the track record we are working with. They've beaten this guy twice. They beat him as a sitting president, beat him as an opposition guy. So what can he really show? I mean, he was beaten in 2016, beaten in 2020. Simple and square. So if you've beaten him before, Charlie, as a party, you believe that you can beat him again. But there are a lot of other dynamics in the NPP itself that has to be considered. Who is going to be the flag bearer of the NPP? Is it Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia? Is it Alan Kojo Martin? who is going to be? Is it Adainimo? Is it going to be Jomo Jogati?
Former Greek minister.
Or Ifri Akoto? Are these people who can really stand Mahama, boot for boot, courtesy to John Mahama? So he would say to you that, oh, we are not worried, Mahama cannot bring anything new. But of course they are. The man whom was president of this country has been vice president for 4 years, has been president for 4 years, and has contested you in the election twice. You beat him by 1 million. He closed the margin up to 500,000 in the next year. It's just a matter of time before he connects. He demolishes those 500,000, and then he tops you up. So it will be a foolish thing to think that the governing party is not afraid. They are, but they don't have to come out and say, oh, we are scared. No, they don't have to be scared because they also have their strategies. And mind you, since 92...
All right, Sandra, I'll come back to you, but I want to go back to the Citi Auditorium of the University of Health and Allied Sciences because former President John Mahama has officially mounted the podium there.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kindly resume your seats. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our hardworking branch and constituency executives, our party members and supporters, members of our Council of Elders, national executives present here, members of the Professional Forum, invited guests, my wife, Lodina, and my son, Sharaf, who has accompanied me here. Invited guests, my brothers and sisters. I want to thank you sincerely for answering my invitation to attend this campaign launch. I'm delighted by this opportunity to engage with you and the good people of Ghana once again. I'm greatly humbled to be addressing all of you who are present here, but also the millions glued to your televisions and radio sets and those who are tuning in via the internet in Ghana and actually across the whole world. I want to thank you for sharing your morning with me, and I do not take this for granted. Thank you very much. Akpe kaka kaka kaka. As I drove onto the campus of the University of Health and Allied Sciences, popularly known as UHAS, which was built during the tenure of our great party, I could not help but feel a sense of fulfillment that the dream and vision of our late president, Professor John Evansata Mills, has been actualized in a very beautiful way. The Volta region retains a towering significance in the history of our great party, the NDC. Our founder and former president, Flight Lieutenant John Rawlings of blessed memory, whose courage and vision inspired the formation of the NDC, hailed from this very region. Other stalwarts, dead and living, like Security Chief Captain Kojoshi Kata, Dana Bodakpi, and my dear former Transport Minister, the late Jifa Aku Ativo, and many others too numerous to mention, are all natives of this region and have toiled tirelessly to build our great party, the NDC, and our beloved nation, Ghana. It is therefore no coincidence that we are holding this lunch here in the Volta region as a tribute to the many illustrious sons and daughters of this region who have toiled tirelessly for our great party. And at this moment, I'll ask that we observe a moment of silence for all the faithful departed who are not with us here today, but who worked to bring our party to where it is. One moment of silence, please. May their gentle souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. There was an English romantic poet called Bessie Bysshe Shelley, who in 1817 wrote a famous poem titled Ozymandias. I'm sure several of you would have read this poem. This poem was a cautionary tale about a ruler who was so full of pomp, arrogance, and a deluded sense of self-importance. One is struck by the poet's description of the clueless ruler as he goes on to boast, "My name is Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair." Unquote. Tragically, according to the poem, when one looked around to see these so-called works, one saw nothing but sand and decay. The poem mirrors our present national circumstances in a very uncanny way. Fellow countrymen and women, my brothers and sisters, I wish to thank Professor Joshua Alabi, the convener of the John Mahama Campaign Committee, and a former Vice Chancellor of the University of Professional Studies, Accra, and who was my co-aspirant in the 2019 presidential primaries. For picking my nomination forms last week. And I'll tell you a little joke at this point. When the primaries were over the last time, and I had got 95.3% of the vote, I got a call from Professor Alabi congratulating me. And he said in Hausa, we grew up in Tamale together, so he speaks Hausa. He said, "Oh, this little play we're playing, look how you have disgraced us." In Hausa is wasanda muna inga duwaya ndekasa mukunya. I want to thank him profusely for picking up my nomination forms last week. I also wish to thank the hundreds of party supporters who accompanied Professor Alabi to perform that task on my behalf. By that action, I have officially joined the race to contest for the flag bearer slot of the National Democratic Congress. For the 2024 elections, which I consider to be the most important and defining poll of our time, I've not taken this step lightly. It has been the product of months of prayer, broad consultation, and sober reflection. I've searched my soul and placed close attention to your voices, to your daily struggles, and to our present national predicament. At this stage, Ghana demands experience, not experiments. Ghana demands togetherness and not divisiveness. Now is the time for bravery of heart and clarity of purpose. 6 years ago, despite our best efforts, the people of Ghana decided to entrust the management and administration of this country into the hands of the NPP. They did so in the hope that the many mouth-watering promises that were made to them would translate into meaningful action that will mark an improvement in their living conditions and the general well-being of our country. My brothers and sisters, 6 years on, those hopes have been dashed. Instead of the prosperity and progress that was promised, the last 6 years have been perhaps the most difficult and challenging period of our history as a country. This government has been clueless today is broken on all fronts. Ghana is bankrupt. Simply cannot pay. And we have suffered the global humiliation of defaulting on our debts and being downgraded by all credit rating agencies to the lowest level ever seen in our history. Our economy is in the worst ever shape, with suffering and pain on an unprecedented level. Hyperinflation and ever-increasing price of basic items, including food products, have all combined to inflict unbearable pain on millions of Ghanaian households. Parents are being forced to make the choice between seeking prompt health care for their sick children or providing meals with their meager resources for their families. Our middle class stands the real risk of being wiped out on the back of an obnoxious debt restructuring program. The poor who depend on the middle class for employment and sustenance are on their own and uncertain of their fate in the future. Our aged pensioners and the elderly have not been spared either. In the past few weeks, they have been compelled to stage public manifestations outside the Ministry of Finance in defense of their livelihoods, even in this elderly state. Who would have thought that Ghana will come to a juncture like this, where a government would mete out such shabby treatment to our senior citizens, whose only crime is that they put their life savings in what is considered the safest financial instrument in the world, government bonds. We are at this most depressing phase in our history, where our economy has been destroyed because of the systematic mismanagement, misguided and clueless policy choices and the incompetence of President Nana Akufo-Addo and his Vice President Mahamudu Bawumia. While our people struggle to keep their heads above water, government officials continue to exhibit high levels of greed, corruption, arrogance of power, dishonesty, blatant state capture, and conflict of interest. Unsurprisingly, no one in this MPP government wants to take responsibility for anything, including their flag-bearer hopefuls, most of whom were part of the economic management team, the team that was called the solid team. Today, everybody is running from taking responsibility. They continue to lay blame for their disastrous economic management on external factors, whose relationship with our present sorry circumstances economic collapse has been years in the making, just as we know it was entirely avoidable. Amid all the suffering, government remains obstinate and refuses to back down from the costly missteps that led us here in the first place. They continue to waste the precious little we have on dodgy and misguided projects and programs and on a bloated government. As they tighten the noose on the helpless citizens by piling on more taxes and expropriating our money through measures like the domestic debt exchange, government offers no semblance of genuine sacrifice on its part. The national decay of the last 6 years has not been limited to the economy. It extends to all aspects of our lives. Our hitherto trusted state institutions today stand as pale shadows of themselves, undermined and politicized to the extent that they consider themselves as an extension of the governing New Patriotic Party. The youth of our country, the young people, male and female, see no future in the country of their birth. They see no silver lining at the edge of the clouds, which often appears only dark and glooming, with no ray of sunshine seeping through. And who's to blame them when after years of struggling to earn an education, they are condemned to unemployment and acute lack of opportunities? From 2025, graduate degree holders may hit the pension age and never find employment in their entire lives except for national service. It should worry us deeply that the average young Ghanaian would grasp any opportunity to flee the despondent climate under which we currently live in favor of even the most menial jobs in other countries. We've always had a tradition of our people going out in search of greener pastures abroad, but the current mass exodus of active workers and professionals is profoundly worrying. The loss of all hope that anything good can come out of this country, or that any available opportunities will be equitably shared amongst our people, is what accounts for this. For some sections of our population, the unraveling of our national fabric and the collapse of our economy under this government form sufficient basis to dismiss all public office holders and politicians, both in government and out of government, as being the same. Some have lost all hope in the democratic process and believe that democracy is no better than other forms of governance. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the predictable effects of the betrayal of the people's trust by the President, his Vice President, and his crop of leading officials. I wish I could say this in a more pleasant way, but you are the better judges of our current reality. Our present state and its effect on our people trouble me a lot. And this is why, as you have observed, at every significant wrong turn or decision taken by this government, I have, with the benefit of experience I have acquired, provided alternative solutions and even offered the expertise and knowledge of some of my party colleagues to help get us out of these challenges. And this is because there is an increasing gap right now between the Ghanaian society and the Ghanaian political system. And it is one of these reasons why a change has become absolutely necessary at this particular time. Of course, I know how to deliver that badly needed change. Because over the last 4 to 5 years, I've continued to study our problems. I've continued to listen to each and every one of you and to a variety of scholars and experts. During the period I'm speaking about, and I'm ready and able to be the kind of president that Ghanaians are looking for. In our present situation, it is no longer sufficient to sit on the sidelines and offer suggestions which are most often ignored. I'm therefore coming before you in all humility and in response to the calls from my party and the generality of the people of Ghana to offer myself to serve this country and its people that I love so dearly, by first putting myself up for election in the oncoming NDC presidential primaries. Before I left office in 2016, that posterity will be the judge, have proven prophetic. In the face of the abysmal performance of the MPP government and their harrowing dismantling of our country's prospects. But my brothers and sisters, I'm not the kind of leader who derives pleasure from or who can smile at my country's failings, even the failings of my political opponents. As noted by Otto von Bismarck, a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. As far as I'm concerned, there is no vindication to be derived from the suffering of the Ghanaian people. I'm offering myself for public office at this time because I appreciate the enormity of the task ahead, owing to the level of damage that has been done to our country by this government. And I also know that Such a mountainous task requires a steady, unifying, and experienced hand to build the Ghana we want together. And as I said, this is no time for experimentation. Ghana at this time does not need a try-me-too leader. Urgently needs a leader with an unwavering desire to get things done in a no-frills, no-thrills, business-like manner. Not one enamored with sloganeering, excessive partisanship, personal comfort, and shallow populism. Ghana's next leader should exercise sound judgment and be able to make the right calls at the right time. A leader who accepts responsibility and works to fix the problem, and not one who shifts blame onto others. The leader should be one whose heart is filled with compassion for the people and who has the humility to connect with and understand the needs of the people he serves. Our country requires a visionary leader who will build a prosperous and progressive Ghana for all Ghanaians and not just a few family and friends. We in the NDC will not run a government of slogans. Instead, we will run a government of action. As a leader, you should be held accountable for your promises to the people. Sound judgment and be able to make the right calls, as I said, at the right time. Such a leader must continue and, for emphasis, have the humility and presence of mind to take responsibility. And as I said, in this government, nobody wants to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong. Our next leader should be a leader whose heart is filled with compassion, as I said, for the people who he has the humility to connect with and understand. He should not be a leader who views the public purse as a family japadier, or in English, heirloom, or even the money. A leader who has his sights on leaving a legacy for posterity. And with all the humility I can muster, I believe that I possess these qualities and that I'm uniquely placed, having sat back the past few years to take stock of our country's trajectory. I'm aware of the extent of work that very ready. I am very ready to build the Ghana we want together with you. Our mission as the NDC is to get out of the current nightmare and to get out of it together, reaching to one another, listening to one another, and providing hope for all Ghanaians. Working with a pool of experienced, talented, and passionate men and women, and with many others from non-political backgrounds, including the private sector and civil society, who simply want the best for Ghana and who desire to transform our country and its people, it can and will be done. The first order of business will be to reset our country to its default settings, as envisioned by the founders of the Fourth Republic. A nation of peace and prosperity built on the principle of integrity, justice, and equity, respect for human rights, a leadership of modesty and humility that forges consensus and carries the people along in the implementation of its policies and programs. At the top of our priorities as the new government in 2025, God willing, inshallah, at the top of those priorities will be to restore stability and inclusive growth to our economy. This way, we'll do this by bringing the various indicators under control to relieve Ghanaians of their suffering. We will strictly enforce prudence and responsibility in the management of public finances by cutting out waste and ostentation, which have become a common brand under this administration. Together, we will build the Ghana we want. We shall restore faith in our almost collapsed financial system and embark on sweeping reforms at the Bank of Ghana. We shall actively pursue mining, agriculture sectors. And all this will be anchored on our plan to grow the economy and create sustainable employment for our young people. We will make investments in productive sectors of the economy, like agriculture, industry, technology, digitalization, and tourism to spur growth and generate jobs for the teeming youth who continue to lose hope in our country day by day. My brothers and sisters, my comrades, with a limited fiscal space, we are likely priority to continuing and completing ongoing projects rather than rushing. We shall not rush to commence new projects. We'll take an inventory of all the abandoned and uncompleted projects in this country, and we will focus on completing them. We shall assemble and operate the leanest but most efficient government under the history of our Fourth Republic. We'll reduce significantly the size of government. And as announced in my speech at the UPSA late last year, in a crisis situation like this, it is my belief that this country can be governed efficiently with 60 ministers and deputy ministers. We will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms under the Fourth Republic, which will be aimed at restoring confidence in our democracy and governance systems while making life easier and better for the people of Ghana. In response to the concerns and calls from many of you, we will initiate and undertake the most far-reaching constitutional, political, and governance reforms that will constitutional review process that was begun by the late President Atta Mills. Controversial Article 71 to reduce the sector and civil service. The payment of ex gratia to members of the executive under Article 71 will be scrapped. And the necessary constitutional steps to abolish that payment will start in earnest in 2025. Persuading the other arms of government other than the executive to accept the removal of these ex gratia payments. Issues pertaining to the excessive powers of the president, proper separation of powers, strengthening of parliament, restoring the independence of the judiciary, independent and quasi-independent state institutions, and depoliticizing them will take center stage of the new administration. With renewed vigor, we will work to restore confidence in all institutions of state so that our people will see their institutions working for them as they should, with utmost professionalism and non-interference from political actors. We must, for instance, end the chaos that now characterizes the placement system for BEC graduates. As a first step to resolve this issue with the computerized placement, we should allow students to only complete their applications for SHS after they have received their BEC results. This will put them in a better position to know what their actual grades are and make them able to match them with the cut-off grades and raw scores of the senior high schools they wish to be admitted to. This will moderate expectation, ensure effective demand based on real results, and address the uninformed demands we currently see. It will also root out corruption and blatant discrimination from the school placement process. Fellow councilmen and women, the time has come for Ghanaians to receive proper accountability from those they elect to political office. This accountability can only be achieved by a new party coming into government in 2025. I promise Ghanaians that we shall investigate how public funds have been expended. And this includes the COVID-19 audit and the findings. It includes the COVID-19 audit and the findings from the Auditor General's report over the years. We must clean the organ stables and rid them of the filth and corruption. The anti-corruption institutions will be given unfettered access to do their work. The days of the infamous clearing agent endeavor, institutions of state will be empowered to work independently without interference. State-owned enterprises will not be a gravy train for political apparatchiki. We shall reintroduce the hallmark of my previous administration, and that is tolerance for criticism and the creation of a conducive atmosphere for the media to do its work without the fear of threats, harassment, and possible assassination. My brothers and sisters, I've heard many of my colleagues and comrades say that our next NDC government must also exact its pound of flesh. My fellow party cadres, my brothers and sisters, I dare say that there's no use fighting for political power if it is only to come and repeat the same mistakes that the MPP has made. We must therefore engage our grassroots to work together with us to build the Ghana we want. To be able to achieve all the above, we must see different personalities and backgrounds only. We must not see NDC and MPP. We must not see Ghana or Ewe or Akan or Dagomba. We must not see different religions, Muslim and Christian and traditional religions. We must look to ourselves and we must see Ghanaians as one people united with one destiny. You and I, hand in hand and working together and building the Ghana we want, it will take grit, it will take determination, but we have what we have not had before, the benefit of hindsight and reflection from afar, and the benefit of experience to improve upon our successes and avoid our previous mistakes. Campaign, I'll engage as many of you in the public as possible and interface with various interest groups to tap into your views on how to fashion the Ghana we want. As observed by Aldous Huxley, experience is not what happens to you, it is what you do with what happens to you. In the coming days, as we go around, we'll be having conversations about our country. But more important, we must put into action the plans that we would conceive together. It will not be easy. It will take determination. It will take grit. It will take tears. It will take sacrifice. I promise you that I'll share that pain and sacrifice with you. And above all, I promise you hard work. I wish to assure you, my fellow Akatamansonians, that I've heard your concerns on how we can further strengthen our party. I'll certainly make you proud by addressing those logistical needs as we work to position the party to be more responsive to your needs. We shall build the most formidable political party, and every Ghanaian will be happy and proud to associate with the NDC. Remember that water, electricity, educational, health, telecommunications infrastructure across the length and breadth of this country. It was the NDC that took the decision that every region of Ghana must have a public university. And that is why today we have University of Health and Allied Sciences here. It was the NDC that considered it prudent to build an airport in the Volta region. And on 6th March this year, all those planes are coming to land at the airport and bring the people to come and celebrate 6th March. They would have had been built. Ladies and gentlemen, too much has happened to us as a people, but we have a duty to ourselves to learn from history and chart a path accordingly. And I'm giving you a quote from President Ronald Reagan. He says, "The greatest leader is not necessarily the one who does great things. He is the one that gets the people he leads to do the greatest things." And I subscribe to what he said. The next government of NDC would not be about me. It would not be about forming a cadre of family and friends to enrich themselves at the expense of our people. The next government of the NDC will be about you. In all humility and with a rekindled spirit, renewed energy, sharpened vision to help save our dear country Ghana, I formally announce to you my candidacy for the presidential primaries. I formally announce to you my candidacy for the presidential primaries of the National Democratic Congress. Thank you, pardon me. Thank you, pardon me. And I'm proud and honored that our NDC family, young and old men and women from all over the country, are standing firmly behind me. When a commander leads his army into war, he wants to look back and see that there are soldiers, men and women, standing strongly behind him. I feel humbled by your love, and I hope you all know that I love you too. I must also thank the diverse group of individuals who continue to volunteer, donate towards my campaign. Some of you, students, professional traders, Okada riders, among others, concerned drivers, voluntarily set up platforms to mobilize funds to support my campaign. I want to thank you very much for that effort. My brothers and sisters, I am John Mahama. Your proven servant leader, and I ask you to bless me massively with your trust and your votes on May 13th and subsequently on 7th December 2024. And I pledge to you that I will return your generosity and your blessings with the hard work in the presidency of Ghana. Experience and not experiments. Ghana needs a leader who will hit the ground running on 7th January 2025. Ghana needs a leader who will not be given an orientation and excursion through the Flagstaff House, because he knows there already. Ghana used to be of Africa, and I'm of the strongest conviction that we can attain those heights again. I believe it, and we will lead by example. And as I conclude, I wish to thank my wife, Lordina, who has been my dependable partner on my whole political journey. And I wish to thank all of you, and may God bless the NDC, may God bless the Republic of Ghana, and may God bless us all. Thank you very much.
So there you have it. Former President John Mahama has officially launched his presidential campaign to run for president on the ticket of the opposition National Democratic Congress. That event is currently ongoing at the Citi Auditorium of the University. Number of of Eyewitness News on 97.3 FM and also face-to-face here on Citi TV. Well, Sandra, it appears the party, the NDC, its members, they are clear in their mind who they want as flag bearer of the party. Why am I saying this? Because I sense some form of unison in what the party communicators have been saying, what the party members have also been saying. And in fact, what John Mahama himself has said today as far as his presidential bid is concerned. We know the maxim, experience is the best teacher, and in fact, he's repeated it several times in his address that we just heard a while ago. It appears the race has already been decided, the primaries have been decided already. Is that what you also sense?
No, if I remember Sir John very well, I remember the maxim fear delegates. And the fact that they are there blowing the vuvuzelas and just giving him standing ovations and all of that does not automatically mean they are going to. The sweetness of the eating of the pudding is in the eating. So let's wait till they go to the ballot. I'm not going to be fooled by a crowd.
And that's on May 13.
May 13. I'm not saying that he is not most likely going to be the winner. They already call him the presumptive flag bearer of the NDC, which means it's just a matter of going to endorse him. But so far as there's a contest, and there are 3 other people contesting him, and these 3 people have sat down in their room, looked at the dressing mirror, and decided that they are best to lead the NDC, and they believe that despite everything, despite the weight of John Mahama, they can still make it. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt and let's watch what happens.
But he said a lot of things, looking at what he wants to do and what he's done in the past, touting his track record and order. But from all that he said, what jumped at you? Is it the scrapping of the ex-gratia?
That is really the one that comes to me. I mean, if he says, initially when he said it, I'm like, oh, but you can't say this because it's not something you can do. Then he went to the next point to say that he's going to trigger the constitutional processes to ensure that that is done. If he indeed would be supported by his own executives, and I mean the government executive, that's if he's elected to do that, that would be good for our culture. The drain on our coffers from just Article 71 is huge. People retire on their salaries, people retire on their emoluments, and we pay so much. We pay lump sum money to people. And don't forget, Parliament decides for the executive decides for Parliament. So it's a wash my back, I wash your back kind of thing. I don't know how popular it's going to be if he became president in his own government, whether his own people support him to do that. But if he does that, that would be a huge ease on our coffers. And I dare say that it should even start from now.
All right, thank you, Omar Sanda Amadu. This is how we want to end our live coverage of the presidential campaign launch of former President John Dramani Mahama. We came to you live from our studios here at number 5, Ola Hansen Lane in Tesano in Accra. My name is Neil Latte. I did this with Omar Sanda Amadu, my colleague in the Citi Newsroom. We are so grateful for your company. Thank you so much for watching. Keep staying with us here on Citi TV because it's indeed your world.
I passed by your favorite barbecue place and I got you something.
What is your pain level?
No, focus, Ayana.
Push harder.
I'm trying.
Oh, you've got to try harder.
I can't.
What I think is happening here is the usual bureaucratic nonsense.
They forced their way into the patient's room.
What? And they held the treatment
over
his head, sir.
And you're not going to stop until you destroy everything that is good and decent about this hospital. I'm just lost for words.
Thank you for rescuing me from the accident.
And to our viewers watching on PBS in the United States and to all of you around the world, welcome. Now, the U.S. House Foreign Affairs Committee